People pick and choose who they love. People pick and choose who they throw shade at. That's why I do what I want. And spending all your time won't never get it back. Time is money, don't be wasting my cash. Give it back, give it back, get it back. Hey, time is money, don't be wasting my stacks. Spending all your time won't never get it back.
What up, and welcome to the very 5th episode of The Pick Route. We are your hosts. My name is Patty.
What up, Dank?
What up, it's Qwee.
What's up, it's Moose.
And today we will be playing Is He a Hall of Famer? More on that later. Is this the first time all four of us are on an episode?
Second
time, okay. Never mind.
First one was episode 3, right?
Correct. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, Dank took a TV timeout last week.
Yeah.
He'll get into why. But let's start with the big NFL news from this week. The Miami Dolphins saying F them picks, trading away everybody for Tyreek Hill. And it's been a pretty crazy NFL free agency period. And I was really thinking about it. It's really for one of three things or a combination of all of them. But one of them is free agency is always like this, and we only think about it once a year. So by the time it hits, it always feels like it's crazy. It's not like the NBA or MLB where, you know, there's that mid-season trade deadline that these moves are happening. So like this, it always feels crazy because it all happens in kind of a short period of time. 2 is kind of what we talked about last week, being that teams are seeing what the Rams did and just saying, you know, screw it. We'll go all in for 1 year and win a Super Bowl every 5 years, or contend for a Super Bowl every 5 years. And 3, and this is the one that I think is the most likely, is this is just a bad draft class and everybody's seeing that. So the only way to make your team better is through free agency and these trades, because, you know, all of these guys, besides Kyle Hamilton, and I'm starting to buy Malik Willis, but I don't really see any kind of generational guys in this group. But any thoughts on that or Tyreek Hill?
Dude, it's nuts. So, like, Miami's all in on Mr. Down with the sickness, you know? He's got to perform this year.
That would be Qwee.
I mean,
yeah.
He's got the weapons. Like,
right.
You better perform.
I'm getting the vibe from them that they're going to be last year's Cardinals.
Okay.
The Cardinals made all the moves, and they'll kind of come out hot. You know, they might be a 6-0, 7-0 team, and then we'll kind of fade off towards the end, and Buffalo will still win the division. They should make the playoffs.
So Miami's losing to Detroit next year is what you're saying. Just like Arizona did.
Oh, because Arizona lost to Detroit. That's exactly what I'm saying.
See, I think with this NFL draft, what I'm seeing is you got a lot of good players, and you have a lot of good players at a lot of positions, but you don't have any rock stars. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
The kid Hutchinson is good, but I would say if you put Hutchinson versus Nick Bosa 3 years ago, is he better than Bosa?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, the kid was a stud against Ohio State, but I mean, we can agree that that's not the best Ohio State team, not even close, over the last 5 years. You know, like
I was saying during that whole game. He's not a Bosa. He just dresses like one for Halloween.
Right. I like you watch him and you're like, all right, you know, you can see he's clearly talented. He's a first round guy, no doubt. But if you put him in a draft with Myles Garrett, do you feel the same way? Probably not. But you'd be sure as shit happy if he fell to you at 8 or 9 in the first round of a draft, you know?
And I think
go ahead, man.
I was going to say.
No, I'm with you on Willis too.
Yeah, I'm starting to buy him. And I'm even thinking of Houston at 3. Taking him there.
Just do it. Give your best dart at the board, take the best quarterback you think, and then fill out your roster the rest of the way.
Which is crazy because I think, like, the kid from Hamilton from Notre Dame. I think he's by far the best player in this year's draft. But I think he's going to fall a little bit just because teams taking need spots and, what he plays and kind of that feeling of safety that they're that plug and play guy that like kind of anybody could do it. But
bro,
he's the guy that gets to be.
The best player in this draft is Linderbaum from Iowa. Right. If we're being honest, he's the best player in this draft. But you don't want to, you'll never say it. But offensive line guys know how special that kid is. He's a new age offensive lineman.
And he'll have the same thing said about him that Quentin Nelson was said about when he came out was he's going to be labeled as the safest pick in the draft, like unbustable. He's not going to bust. He might not be the best to ever do it, but you're going to get a NFL starting center for the next 10 years.
If you get Jason Kelce for the next 10 years, are you pissed?
Nope.
No.
Sure ain't.
Yeah, I was gonna say too before, like going back to Tyreek Hill and all that stuff. Like this is the year. Like if you're gonna fire draft picks, like do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's obviously there's talent in the draft, but like you're getting the most explosive player in the league. You're not gonna draft that this year. Right. There's good wideouts and stuff, but like
he's 1-1.
Not Tyreek Hill.
Like just rip them. Get rid of the picks, do what you got to do, and then, like, I actually am pretty fired up for Mike McDaniel. I'm like becoming a big fan of his.
Well, that's what scares me in the AFC East is the fact that he's there and now he has that because like he's not going to misuse them.
No, and I was just super pumped to not have to deal with Tyreek Hill anymore.
I think Shanahan is the most underrated coach in the NFL. I think that dude is a rock star, and I'm not sold on the guy in Miami, not one bit. I think Shanahan is the most underrated guy because he's new school, but everything he does has old school principles on it. But he glosses it up with new stuff, like he's running buck sweep off of so many different looks and motions and personnel that it's incredible. And he won't get the respect because he's not as flashy as some of these other guys or whatever. But he's taken guys like the Niners and the Falcons, who, if we're being honest, a few years ago, are the Falcons that good? He's been to like 3 Super Bowls,
right? Leading
those offenses with average players. I mean, obviously Atlanta had Julio and stuff, and Brian was an MVP. But come on.
And just think about how many NFL teams would misuse Samuel. Like, how would Dallas handle Debo? Like he'd just be
put him out wide out and freaking running around.
Sorry, Chase.
Timeout for Dad.
Okay. Good timing, though. We'll get right into the pregame. And I wanted to start talking some college football a little bit. And the way we've had and the way college football has been going is we've talked about this in our group chats and stuff like that. But that it's been clear that there have been tiers to college football. And tier 1 has been Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson. Give or take 1 or 2 years with those guys. Those guys are always going to be in the conversation for winning the national championship. It's going to be 1, 2, and 3 in preseason all the time. They're always in contention. Then you got the tier 2s, which should be the LSUs, the Georgias, the Notre Dames, the Oklahomas that can put together a team every 10 years or so, 5 to 10 years or so, that can jump up and win it all. Thinking about the LSU team in 19 and last year's Georgia team that were able to just kind of put it all together one year and go on a magical run. And to get into that tier, and this is what I've said, to get into that first tier, what you need is consistent top quarterback play year after year. And that's what those 3 have had really, I think Clemson will get their stuff figured out. But you need an O-line, a D-line, and DBs. This is what we've always said about college football, to get you into that tier 1 is you need those 4 positions because everybody has good running backs. Everybody has good wide receivers.
Right.
But the past 3 national champions, as I've broken it down, have really bucked that trend. You go back to 2019 LSU. Yeah, Burrow was awesome, but it was really the receivers that made that thing go. What NFL teams right now have a better receiving tandem than Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson? Very few. I think Qwee's going to go nuts with the Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow being better than those 2. But there's not many. Most guys would take those 1-2 over their 1-2. Then the Bama team in 2020, which I think is being overlooked. I think that's one of the best college football teams we've ever seen, is that
No doubt.
2020 Bama team. They'll never get into that conversation because of, the COVID year and not playing a full season. But that team was unbelievable. And they were also led by dynamic receivers. We watched that game together. I'm like, they're not doing anything fundamental. They're having Devontae Smith run all over the field, in orbit motions and I'm like, it's not sustainable. And then they sustained it the entire game and dominated Ohio State. And then last year, a team with a below average quarterback who made a throw in the national championship game to win it. It was a gangster throw, but he's not doing that week in and week out. They won it with defense and running the ball. So what I'm feeling is that we're going to see more parity in college football than we have in this past decade between those 3 teams, where different things is starting to figure themselves out. Moose, you have a point?
Did you talk about Clemson?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to run upstairs. My kid heard me talking about the run game and got fired up. So, yeah, no, I was actually going to talk about that too. Is we always said Ohio State, Clemson, Bama. Everyone else is playing, but it's exactly what you just said. Like, it's I even was thinking about talking about that tonight, but I'm right there with you on it.
Yeah.
Well, what helps, like, all these other teams and stuff, you feel like a lot of times all these top quarterbacks, all these top players come out to Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State.
Right.
But then they're not starting right away. Now the transfer portal has them getting shipped off. And it's like, do these kids like talk to each other? You know how like in the
100%.
Fab Five, like with Michigan, like they all talk to each other before, like, yo, let's go to Michigan, freaking own this stuff.
That's the thing with social media. Social media now, it's geographical recruiting is dead.
Yeah.
People always say, like, why is Texas not good when they have all this talent in Texas? Well, because they're recruiting against Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson. The best players in Texas are going to Alabama. The best players in Miami are going to Clemson and Ohio State, So that whole geographical recruiting stuff, it really doesn't matter anymore. It's all dead. They're seeing, every game is on TV every week. We're staying up late watching San Jose State play freaking, Little Sisters of the Poor.
Right.
Every game's on TV.
Like I said last week, you got high school kids announcing commitments to high schools. Like, give me a break, man. Give me a break.
But all that being said, I'm super excited about this Ohio State team. I can't wait. I think this team is loaded. We're losing 2 first-round receivers, and the receiving core is going to be better next year. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a bigger Devontae Smith. Just throw on the highlights of the Rose Bowl. He's phenomenal. We got Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him.
Dude, freak show. He's freaky.
Hot take.
And,
Olave to Dallas at 24. I'm calling it.
That'd be good. He's awesome. He's Terry McLaurin-esque. He reminds me of Terry. He's going to do all the dirty stuff. And I always say with Terry is, like, if you watch the games, he's going to be your favorite player. If you play fantasy football, you're not even going to know about him. But Terry's like one of the top receivers.
Well, you certainly won't know about Dallas because Kellen Moore can't.
Well, I know about. So. I know about
Terry.
But he's phenomenal. But and then Ohio State, I think this team is built like the 2020 Bama team, where we have these dynamic receivers that we're going to go all over the place. We are moving G. Scott, who was a 5-star receiver. They put 50 pounds on him, and he's playing tight end. He's basically a Mechie clone. And then you got a Heisman candidate in C.J. Stroud and Travion Henderson. Like, this team is loaded, and I can't wait.
Just make sure the paramedics are ready.
Why?
They tend to choke.
It happened twice. All right, Dank, what do you got?
So last week I wasn't here because I was at a cornhole tournament.
So how big's the trophy?
Oh, it's pretty big. Yeah.
Where is it?
Oh, it's in the trophy case already.
Did you really win?
Yes, we won. So me and my partner
dang.
Joe Pettit finished first place in the ACL regional. So big shout out to Joe and his chiropractor, doctor, back specialist that took care of him the next day after for carrying my ass. But big shout out to him. Big shout out to CCC, to Matt Mayer and Jay Bell, who put on a great show. You know, running those tournaments aren't easy to do. So big shout out to them. Darcy and Phil, you know, running shit. It was good stuff. And then shout out to avid listener Brian Trombley. Tuesday night we took down 4th at Any Baggin. So, and again Trombley did some carrying too. So, you know what they say, better be lucky than good. So,
you know how to pick them.
that's right.
Because you got a noodle arm, Dank,
On to you, clowns.
and a weak soul.
Friggin' don't ever disrespect Golden Bears ever again with what you guys did last week. The fact that they didn't win the Pac-12 is shameful. Very shameful.
They had to go against a Bruin.
Yeah. A Golden Bear is a grizzly bear from California. That's all a Golden Bear is.
Let me guess, you were a fan of the spicy leprechauns, Arizona State.
It was an average statement, Chase.
But yeah, hey, we're proud of you. Way to represent. Hopefully you shouted out the pick route when you were there. Now you took them, you know, here.
Hey,
Oh,
gotta
people are hearing about pick route.
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
first title in pick route history. Well done.
There we go.
And
We're
then
gonna have to get you a pick route patch for your
my
jersey.
last
Go
thing
ahead.
I'm going to bring up is how did Houston trade away Deshaun Watson when he wasn't even on their team? Right? I mean, you guys put Davis Mills over Deshaun
We knew he
Watson.
wasn't going to be there. We knew he wasn't going to play there.
Oh, knew he wasn't going to play
That's
there.
not what.
But the whole game was who's the best quarterback on that team?
You're
Deshaun
still salty
Watson,
about it.
I thought personally was
You're
the best
still
quarterback
salty
on that
about it.
team. I'm not
All
happy
right,
about
next.
it. So
Next.
Yep, moving on.
Qwee, what do you got?
Well, here's the thing. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and you guys chuckled. But Duke is in the Final Four.
It's going to be hilarious
Again.
when they lose to North Carolina.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I shit on it, I think, a couple weeks ago. They lose to North Carolina, Coach K's last home game. Now you get them in the Final Four. Bet the house on Duke. There's no way they lose.
You know what's the worst thing about
Coach
Duke fans?
Way they lose.
You know what's the worst?
Coach K
you
is
guys,
basketball, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
proud of you.
Moose.
You know what infuriates
Throwing
me
up the white
about
flag on
Duke
this one.
fans is like you're like Patriot fans. When you get here and you go, no one said we can do it. Like everyone was down us. No, we all expect you to be here.
Right.
You're the most talented team in the country year in and year out. You should be here every year.
No, but I'm just making a point that they shit
I
the
know.
bed against North Carolina.
It was very
There's
funny.
there's no way they lose this game. No way.
There is a way.
I mean, there is a
Oh,
way.
But
If they score more points than Duke, they lose the game.
But I will say, the kid on North Carolina that looks like a Olympic runner from like '72. He's got like that shaggy beard and the long blonde hair. Dude, that dude rips it.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys watched the game against Baylor, but like, so he fouls out or not fouls out, but he gets a flagrant and he gets ejected. I think they were up like 24 at the time. Baylor comes steaming back. You know, UNC wins in North Carolina. Baylor comes steaming back and they win the game or whatever. But when I was watching North Carolina earlier a little bit, they're on fire too. So I actually think that this is like probably going to be one of the most watched college basketball games in tournament history. So it's a cool thing to witness. So
it's funny. It's funny. Me and some of my friends were laughing. You know, it's been one of the craziest tournaments
by far.
It's been one of the craziest tournaments of all time. With St. Peter's being a 15 seed, reaching the Elite Eight, all of that to have the Final Four be Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Villanova.
Right.
Is the Final Four. It's just like an every year Final Four.
Yeah, you would have no idea. Like if you were like, oh, right, like that's
right.
What it's supposed to be.
Like, if you just look at the Final Four, again,
who cares?
This is what it always is.
Meanwhile, like Miami went on a run. St. Peter's.
Yeah.
I was really hoping actually that they were gonna win one more. I figured it was gonna run out, but to see a team like that. And the other thing too is like for some reason like 15s are like slowly getting a good rep of creating some issues.
Right.
Like we had that conversation about 5-12. Like 15s are like
right.
Well,
you think about what a 15 seed is. It's from a lower level conference, and 16 seeds are kind of those teams that made runs in their conference tournaments that were like the 4 seed in their conference tournament and made a run and won it all and stole a spot. 15 seed, like St. Peter's was a conference champion, and they were, I think, the 2 seed in their conference, like throughout the entire year. They only had 11 losses. Like they've been a good team. So that 15 spot is really, those are solid teams, especially college basketball, because it's so there's so much parity in college basketball, and there's so many players, there's so many teams, and they're all really good. So,
and like watching them against Kentucky too, like I watched that game, and not because they beat Kentucky, but like if you just watch the way they play, I was like, that team can win 3 games just based off of the way the bracket was set up. Like they had winnable matchups all the way through.
Right.
So,
well, it's funny. North Carolina was the lowest seed they played.
Dude, it's like it's a wild tournament for sure. With, I guess, like you said, some predictable Final Fours, but
it's like all 2s and 1 seeds. Moose, what do you got?
All right, so I was thinking about it, and one thing that I've thought about for a long time, and I think back to when I first started coaching, right? So literally when I was in high school, this program, I feel, revolutionized football, right? College. I think that they don't get the respect they deserve as a game-changing offense, system, and style of play, okay? Not a true air raid, right? Not Florida Tebow years and the power spread, not Oregon and the gun, buck sweep, play action, RPO stuff, not the Tony RPOs, but the West Virginia 2007 Rich Rod offenses, right?
Yep.
When they realized that most kids are more natural running backs rather than wide receivers and utilize them as such, they stopped making them run multiple stem routes and complex systems and put their best athletes in a position where they were giving eye candy to the defense and pitching the ball, but still maintaining gap scheme principles in the run game with guys like Owen Schmidt and to your point, the fullback ideas from last week. I don't think that offense gets enough credit for transforming the way that most high schools run their RPO systems, because a bunch of high schools run RPOs when they just tag a hitch to a run play, whatever. right? But they're just throwing to wide receivers out there. You know what I'm saying? Kids that can run a hitch route or some sort of shallow route, whatever. But Rich Rod and that offense with that personnel, Steve Slayton, Pat White, Noel Devine later, it was like, how do we take kids who are running backs yet utilize them in a way that is creative, simple, and just lets them be athletes with the illusion of complexity? I think that offense, like I remember when I first started coaching, 18 years old, I graduated high school and I was like, I want to run that offense. Like I want to take running backs and put them in space. And if they can catch a bubble, great. That's all they need to do. And I'm not going to have them do anything other than that. And I think that maybe because of how Rich Rod ended at Michigan, he doesn't get the respect that he should in terms of that time period for a whole group of coaches. That whole process, you know, I think it got overshadowed later because of Tebow and Florida, and it exploded into something different. But Florida and Urban were doing it with 5-star guys that were incredible. Rich Rod and Westphal did it with a couple guys that became phenomenal through the system. And I think that gave you a blueprint of like, okay, I know every season I'm going to get 6 kids that can play running back. I'm going to have 2 wide receivers. So how do I make that work without going to Flexbone or something like that? Right. So that was my pregame.
No, I love it. And what it comes to, and it's the difference between an analytic nerd and guys who actually coach football. Of you should run the ball in this on first down, and you should actually be doing this on third down, whatever. What Rich Rod did, and you know, he really brought zone read and power read and all that stuff to mainstream, is when calling offense, you're looking at box counts. And it's how many guys do I have blocking versus how many guys do they have in the box. So the kind of old school way of looking at it is if they have more than 5, because you only have 5 offensive linemen, if they have more than 5 in the box, we have to throw the ball. We can't run the ball if they have more than 5 in the box. Well, what Rich Rod did was making the quarterback where we don't have to block one of these guys. Now, if they put 6 guys in the box, we're still even numbers. And then we add the back. They got 6 guys in the box. Now we're +1. So we still feel good about running the ball. I mean, I've never been +1 in a box before.
Never, never.
Coaching high school
you did that to yourself. I mean,
I think it's important too. I think it's important too, just for like people that are listening that may not know a ton about football.
14.
Is that Rodriguez? Yeah, dude, all 14. And I talked about this. I think I was texting Pat about the merch thing, but anyway, Rodriguez, dude, that was 2001 to like 07, 08. So it's not like this is like brand new material. You know what I mean? Like this is a while back that you're talking about.
Right.
Well, yeah,
and the thing is, it's like, no, it's like what Pat's saying, you know, for so long, a 6-man box count was a death count to the run game for so many guys. And that's what we were talking about last week, building on this idea of like, you know, if you add a tight end or a fullback, it doesn't kill your run game because you have to think a little bit, you know, like, no, it can be done. You've got to get more creative and just, instead of just saying, okay, 5, run. Well, you know, how many times do you see a stationary 5 box count? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where everyone else coaches, but I know where we coach and the programs we're at, a 5-man box count is once a game on a Hail Mary situation, maybe.
If you're an empty.
Right.
But yeah, good shit. Yeah. Sometimes I just sit back and listen. I'm like, man, we're smart.
And then other times it's like, you're so dumb.
No, we're so
right.
I mean,
like
you get
like
that and you get
spicy
like a charm in the same
tiger,
episode.
Yeah.
Like a tiger losing to a bull, like
here we go again.
out of nowhere. Okay. I'm gonna bring that one up a couple times tonight. By the way, I'm not
We're gonna have
over
to
it.
put it on a T-shirt. All right, let's get into the game. This week we are playing Is He a Hall of Famer? Brian, put in some like game show music in this part when you get it in post. But yeah, this game was inspired by. Qwee, stop fiddling your mic. This game was inspired by what we'd call a spirited debate we had in our text group a couple weeks ago. One guy, and I'm positive he's going to come up of whether they're all, but it's a simple game. Is one of us is going to pose a guy and we're just going to ask the question: is he a Hall of Famer? What we're going to do is a guy's going to say the name of a player or a coach. You want to do a coach, and then the rest of the three of us will give a gut reaction of just a yes or a no, and then the other guy, the guy who posed it, will just kind of explain it, and then I don't know, maybe we'll come to the end and
Can't wait for
re-vote,
Dank's
but-
stupid ideas.
What do you mean, stupid ideas of what?
Just you talking is stupid, but
Yeah.
okay, let's go.
But the way we're going to do this handling current players is if they were to retire right now, would they be considered a Hall of Famer? I'm going to get it started. I'm going to get it out of the way.
Let's do it.
This is the big one. Cam Newton,
No,
Yes.
No.
get lost.
100% yes. Okay. And here's it like I will think about this on my ride home and get legitimately mad at you guys for thinking he's not a Hall of Famer. Okay. So he has the same passing stats as Kurt Warner.
Oh my God, that's the same guy I looked up to compare.
They're identical.
Absolutely
Okay.
identical.
Identical throwing numbers. Okay. Add to that the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in the history of the NFL.
75.
Okay. So what you're saying is, by saying
With
no,
130 picks.
same with Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
Kurt Warner has the same amount of picks. So what you're saying is, take Kurt Warner, have him rush for 75 touchdowns, drive to his house, go into his closet, and take the gold jacket out because he rushed for 75 touchdowns.
Right.
Okay? Mike Alstott. Let's go with Mike Alstott. Cam Newton has 20 more rushing touchdowns than Mike Alstott. So if Mike Alstott threw for 200 touchdown passes in his career, take him out of the Hall of Fame.
Get him, Patty. Get him.
Cam Newton has more rushing touchdowns than Earl Campbell. That's real.
Interesting.
So explain to me why we should take Kurt Warner and Mike Alstott out of the Hall of Fame, and I'll listen to your conversation why he's not a Hall of Famer.
I'm gonna go
What?
find all
Lot
my
of silence.
texts.
You're going to go first, Moose?
Well,
Do you need to
I
gather
know,
your thoughts?
I know any quarterback that doesn't throw for more than 3,500 yards in a 16-game season, get out of my face. Number one. Number two, he has just as many interceptions as touchdown passes, which is, by the way,
False.
quarterback.
That's completely
Right.
false.
That's wrong.
Dude.
Look
Man.
it up.
He has
you're wrong.
123 interceptions,
Look it
194
up.
touchdown passes.
Here's my thing with him.
It's gonna piss me off.
Here's my thing with him.
Quick, I want to demolish this argument because I know.
No. Here's my thing with him. So you brought up Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner took two teams to the Super Bowl. One
Okay.
younger, one he was much older, right? So and Kurt Warner I put in like a totally different category because he was literally at Stop and Shop with Hunter Renfrow, by the way. Same store.
Working at the bank too.
Right. But he took two teams to the Super Bowl. But my thing with Cam is I feel that he was not consistent enough. I think when he, like, obviously the year they went to the Super Bowl and when he first got in the league, I would give him I don't have his stats in front of me, but I would give him six
looking at 'em.
to
They're fucking
6 years. Right?
Warner.
That first 6 was probably real good. You can't tell me, though, that what we watched in New England is a Hall of Famer.
Well, he's been hurt.
I just can't.
Different.
Or in
He has a shoulder out,
2014
and
when
he
he was
willed
18
that
touchdowns.
season.
Okay, but then
Here's
why?
the thing.
But why are there players that play for 15 years getting in
Because
and
they haven't
are
rushed for
declining and doing
75
all these
touchdowns.
things?
Because they haven't rushed for 75 touchdowns like he has. He's been taking shots his entire career. His shoulder's hanging out of his socket.
So
Yeah,
we're
the
supposed
New
to give
England
it to him
camp,
because he's
he's out,
tough.
but
I
no,
don't know.
because
His,
of
He's not even tough. He wouldn't even recover a
75
fumble in the
touchdowns,
Super Bowl.
Chase. Like, how
That
can you
is-
even like?
okay,
you mean his
divided by
2016
two.
stats where he was 19
divide-
and 14?
When he was hurt, divide Cam Newton's rushing touchdowns in half, and he
Do it,
still has
Moose.
more than Mike Vick.
What's the count, Moose? 75 divided by 2.
Well, that opens up a
Like
whole other
32 and a half.
conversation.
37
Of
and a
if
half,
Mike
you
Vick is all,
idiot.
but like Mike Vick
Damn.
is the best running quarterback of all time.
I was confident in that.
No, but let
Cam
Mike
Newton
Vick.
has double. He's
All right,
25th
I'm over
all
it.
time
Moving
in
on.
rushing touchdowns. Period.
Moving on.
Of any position. But
We're not
So,
gonna agree on
so I
this.
guess no
but
buds.
we're,
right?
we're gonna end up
so me
having
and
to
Pat
put.
still say yes. and you
Flip
two
the
still
pick
say
route
no.
coin. Flip the
I
pick
will-
route coin.
What is his
You don't
passing
even
yards?
have to agree on anything.
He has 32,382 passing yards. Kurt Warner has 32,344 passing
He has
yards.
more passing yards.
So he's got 32, you said?
32,000. And so does Kurt Warner.
Where's he?
And one time he threw more than 24 touchdowns, and that was his MVP
Okay.
year.
But
But
see,
every
Chase,
year he
this is-
threw
But you can't
multi-digit
run and throw for a
interceptions.
touchdown
right,
at the
it's
same time.
impossible. Oh, if you run for a
You can't
touchdown,
run and throw for
one
a touchdown
passing
at the same
touchdown
time.
off the board.
Flip the pick route coin. Move on.
How many touchdowns
Well,
did he have
we're gonna
rushing?
end up-
75?
75.
For a
What did-
grand total
More
of
than Earl
100
Campbell, who's
or
also in the Hall of
269
Fame. So take Earl
touchdowns.
Campbell out of the Hall of Fame.
For
What
a
did,
total
what
of
did Cunningham
269
have? Just out of curiosity. Does anyone know
I
that?
have.
I don't know.
Wasn't even on the list. No, I actually have no idea. But okay, I mean, we're not going to end up agreeing on this one, but we'll end up putting a bet, and I'll even put first ballot down.
First ballot.
First ballot Hall of Famer. We'll make a bet on that coming
Well,
down
that's
the
a
road.
different discussion because I do think Cam Newton will be in the Hall of Fame. He's not a first ballot, and I
That's
don't
what we're
think he should
talking
be.
about, Chief. Is
He's
he
so
a Hall of
stupid.
Famer? Doesn't
He's
matter
so
when he gets in.
He's so stupid.
You're a dummy.
Well, that's stupid.
All right, Dank, since you're on the right side of
He
history, you get to
stinks.
go next.
Yep. All right,
What do you
here's a
got?
big one. Probably controversial. Andrew Luck.
No,
No.
No. All
sorry,
three
man.
no's, correct?
No.
All right. So you look at his stats. I mean, he played 7 seasons. Well, really only played 6 because he had 1 year he was fully out. All right. So in 86 games played, all right, he threw for 23,671 passing yards, 171 touchdowns, 83 interceptions. All right. There's another quarterback. Of course, I just lost my sheet. All right. A Hall of Fame quarterback in his first 6 years played 96 games, 167 touchdowns, 110 interceptions, 24,885 yards.
Can I guess who it is?
Do you want to take a guess who that is?
Peyton Manning.
Correct. All right.
But
In his – go ahead.
like,
Because
Peyton
his career
was-
short, is that like we're going to knock a guy for
Yep.
yes,
only
No, I
playing
am.
a
Yeah.
certain amount of years?
yes. It's
But
the
what
Hall
he
of
did
Fame,
with
not the
those
Hall-
years
It's the
doesn't
Hall of
count.
Fame, not the Hall of Very Good.
Yeah.
But what he did in
I mean,
those years doesn't
one
count.
AFC Championship game appearance. Not enough. Sorry. Moving
in
on.
6 seasons.
Moving
I know,
on.
First
but
6
it's
seasons.
not enough.
See you
Not
later.
enough.
Next up.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he threw for – so in half the years, he threw for over 30 touchdowns. So 3
sorry.
seasons
He
out
was
of
very
6.
good. He's very good, and
Very
if he
good.
kept playing, if
He
he,
would've.
kept playing and kept that stat, he would 100% be a Hall of Famer.
So now
I mean, this Indy team is a quarterback away, but go ahead.
so
but
how
I
many
can't
years
project it.
How many years does a quarterback need to play to freaking make the Hall of Fame?
I can't.
That's
I
not
mean, it's a combination of
established.
everything. One or
can't
two more
put a number on
playoff
it.
wins, and
How about the guy that took the team that ended up being the worst team in the league, gets put on the team and takes them to the playoffs for the next 3 seasons and into an AFC Championship game?
Blake Bortles took the Jags to an AFC
in a
Championship
time
game.
when Tom Brady is dominating the freaking Super Bowl era.
Blake Bortles took a team to an AFC Championship
I
game.
just can't. I can't put a guy in based on projections.
It's
Yep.
not
See you
projections.
later.
What he did with
It
his
is
career,
projections.
he
Wasn't
played
enough.
7 seasons. That's how long his
host.
NFL career was.
Next one.
If he had won two or three Super Bowls in that 7 years, yeah, but he didn't. Next,
Okay.
Moose, go ahead.
My first pick overall on the should be Hall of Fame. I went with all guys on my list of our generation who are recently
basically did too.
retired.
Yep.
Moving on.
Clay
Let's
Matthews.
I knew this was coming.
Go. I knew Clay Matthews was going to come up.
Yes, he's a yes for me, dog.
I would say yes.
The best
Yeah.
player on Green Bay's team through a Super Bowl run for 10 years. Cornerstone franchise in the NFL, even though they're terrible and Aaron Rodgers is a terrorist. But Clay Matthews was the best player on that team outside of Aaron Rodgers.
Can Brian edit that?
Average Aaron.
Brian, I hope you're listening. Can you edit that?
No,
He has to listen
put
to
him
a
on the
single
list.
episode.
Put him on the list. CIA. Put him on the list.
Yeah, no, 100% Clay Matthews, Hall of Famer.
One
I don't
for
think there's a
Moose.
doubter. There you go. Qwee.
All right, I'm gonna start with a bang because I think it's important, especially most of us. No offense, Dank, but most of us are educators. It's important,
I'm a very
And we
good
need- and we
educator. I
need-
educate
and we
you guys
need-
every day.
and we need to teach right now. Wes Welker.
Fucker.
Here's the thing, and I'm gonna bring up a couple things because the guys that I brought up are guys that I think either should or shouldn't, whatever, doesn't matter, but I think are debatable topics. So Wes Welker, I'm gonna give you 2 stats. He's the first person or the first receiver to have 110 plus receptions seasons in a row, right? So he's got 110 plus catches in 3 different seasons. He also is the first to have 5 100 receptions, which I was a little skeptical about when I read that. But here's the other thing. Like, I'm going to show you the flip side. He's got 9,924 yards. That's only 52nd on the list all time. He's got 50 touchdowns. Where that falls on the list of all time is 134th. Receptions, he's at 903, which was 23rd. We can bring that up and talk about it, but he's got 3 rings. Here's the education piece. The dude was the best route runner in our generation by far,
100%.
and it's not even a discussion.
No,
The second thing is he modernized the slot receiver 1,000%. He needs to go to the Hall of Fame. I think a ton of people will say no.
because they don't
right.
know. 100%. He was
my-
number 5 for me.
My gut is no, but not because I don't love him. Like, he's in like a coach's Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Like, just a dude.
Well,
like, he's
All
one of my
these,
favorite
all
guys
these,
I've ever watched.
well, it's
As
all
a
these,
Patriot.
it's all these derelict New England fans
know.
that remember his drop against,
Right.
what was it, the Giants
he
the
was-
second time, that they don't realize that those Patriot teams ran off of
Correct.
West.
Correct.
Put
I
them
don't
in.
understand the game we're playing here. Like, do
Is
stats
he a Hall of
matter or
Fame?
no?
They do.
Stats
Dank.
do not matter, apparently.
It's the hall of my
But the
feelings,
best-
Dank.
It
Shut up.
sounds
All
like
of
you
your
agreed to
feelings.
what I just said. You agreed to what I just said then, Dank.
Correct. Well, my first initial thought was when his name came up, I was saying, yeah, I think he could be. But then the stats came out. I'm like, ugh.
I know.
No.
Really not good. So,
But just because what
Yeah.
you see with your eyes and being,
Right.
he could possibly be the best route runner you've ever seen.
in my personal Hall of Fame, he's in the one in Canton, he's not.
See, I think he's
So I
in.
put Donovan. He might be
All
like
right,
one of the
moving on.
old timers that we see. It's like, all right, moving on. This one I'm excited about because this is one that I saw that my gut reaction was no, and then I looked deeper, and I think he is. Sean Alexander.
Ooh.
Nope.
Ooh.
Gut reaction. No.
Dank, Qwee.
I'm gonna say yes.
If you asked me this question before we did this, I would say no.
But you
Until I did the homework, 100%.
Bro,
Absolutely.
it's crazy. All right, he is 8th all time in rushing touchdowns. He has 100 career rushing touchdowns. He's 37th all time in rushing yards. Okay, he has more rushing touchdowns than Barry Sanders. And let's go through. What was always the thing about Barry is that he didn't play for a long time.
All right.
Barry Sanders played 30 more games than Sean Alexander did.
But Barry is what on the list of yards?
Oh,
Six, I
no,
believe now.
I'm not saying take Barry out, but I'm just
He's
saying,
the
like,
second best running back.
Well,
of all
Moose
time.
terms of touchdowns, but like Sean, like in a short amount of time, I think he played 8 or 9 seasons. Like,
I can give it.
Sean
I vote yes.
when I looked it up, 8th. He has the most rushing touchdowns from a non-Hall of Famer besides.
He was on my list. He was on my deep list.
Yeah. All right,
That'll be a
go
whole
ahead,
other
Dank.
episode, Moose, of Sanders
Moose's
versus
deep
Smith.
list. Go ahead, Dank.
All right, this one, it's interesting because he had years where it looked like he was unstoppable, but Desean Jackson.
Wow. No.
Thought about him too. Ooh.
Nope.
Ah.
Outside
Gut
of a
says
couple
no, but I can be
signature
convinced.
plays
Yeah. Gut says no.
against
but I think I
Alice,
can be
by the way.
convinced.
Qwee?
Your boy.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm gonna say yes.
I'm going to
All
say
right.
yes. I'm going to.
He was on the fence for me. It really intrigued me to look him up and see what his stats are. So in 14 seasons, all right, he's made 3 Pro Bowls, 176 games played, 632 receptions, 11,110 yards, and 58 touchdowns, which is not very appealing.
No.
When you look at Wes Welker's 50 touchdowns.
Right.
I took a guy I kind of compared him to Isaac Bruce. And Isaac Bruce had 4 Pro Bowls. He played 2 more seasons, and yet Deshaun's still playing. So, but he had 15,000 yards and 91 touchdowns. I don't think he's getting, 33 touchdowns in the next 2 seasons. Right. Considering the fact that I looked at all his seasons, he never double-digit touchdown in any single year. But then it got me. Then I was like, oh, you know what? He also did is he was a big part of the punt return game. And even then with that, he only had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Compared to Devin Hester's 14.
To know for me, dog.
So yeah, I'm saying no too. I just thought it was interesting to bring up.
All right, Moose, who do you got next?
Okay, real quick.
Well, no, I was going to say about Desean Jackson, but doesn't he have like the most explosive plays of all time?
They're electric.
Right.
I think it's
game against the Giants was awesome.
I forget what it was. They mentioned it during a Raider game one day, and it was like talking about either like a 20-yard plus reception or like 25 plus yard touchdown or something like that. But he had the most in the NFL since he's been drafted.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like kind of leaning in that direction. Then you brought up the special teams game.
Go ahead, Moose.
So when I think about Hall of Fame, I think of stats and I think of signature moments. Signature moments can be everything, right? I'm going to go with not getting a first ballot, probably going to get it in the next 3 years. DeMarcus Ware, number 9 all time in sacks, at 138.5, and most of them were with Dallas. But signature moment, that Broncos playoff run was not just Von Miller. DeMarcus Ware was burying people that entire season, and in that playoff run and in the Super Bowl was murdering Carolina.
Who did they play? Oh, they played Carolina. Cam Newton's Carolina. Oh,
and
okay.
he was
and they had
murdering
defensive ends possible.
Is he eligible?
Yeah,
for the Hall of
this
Fame?
was his first year, and he didn't get it.
That's criminal.
Right, that's what I said, and it's not just because I'm a Cowboys homer, but
No.
like he was the single best player on Dallas's team for a decade, and then went to Denver and dominated.
Right.
And Von Miller got all the credit, but it was DeMarcus Ware just as much.
Right. I'm thinking about growing up, like the pass rushers I think of are Dwight Freeney, Julius Peppers, and DeMarcus Ware. Like it's those three. Like that's actually criminal
100%.
that he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Fame.
First ballot.
So I think all agreed there. Qwee, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to top the first ballot discussion right now. Devin Hester.
I have him on my list.
Nice.
Yes.
Here's why I brought him up, because I feel like football people will be like, oh, like, absolutely. There are 5 special teamers in the Hall of Fame. Total. The most recent kicker was Morton Anderson.
Wow.
The gangster with the 1 bar. Right? He retired in 2007, didn't get in until 2017. The punter, the only punter that got in, Ray Guy, right? He retired.
Fun fact, I long snapped a Ray Guy once. It was awesome. But go ahead, Qwee.
Badass. He retired in 86. He didn't get in until 2014. So the reason why I bring him up is, one, the special teams game is totally pushed aside when it comes to the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. 2, there are 0 returners in the Hall of Fame. However, he made the all-decade team in the 2000s and the 2010s. He made he had 19 touchdowns on special teams. He scored 7 touchdowns in one season on specials.
The
absurd.
Only hope that Chicago had to win that Super Bowl, and he actually did it.
Yes, he took the opening kickoff.
When you are the best of all time at a position, and there's no debate, he has more return touchdowns than Deion Sanders. He's got the most of all time. Devin Hester is a Hall of Famer, 100%.
So I'm gonna just follow. I'm gonna just follow this up real quick. Though, is like, how long do you think he's gonna wait? I was like pretty surprised he wasn't a first ballot guy.
Was this his year to be eligible?
Yeah, 2022 was his first year, and he got snubbed fast.
Yeah, I
like
would
the special
hate to see
teams
him have to go to like the old timers one,
Right.
because
Right.
he
I'm like,
should be,
what?
Like, he
I'm gonna say by 2025 he's in.
So,
And I think
Put him
we're
in now.
understanding. I think these guys are understanding the way the game's played now and how hard it is
Right.
to do what Devin Hester did.
right. He
So-
changed.
Yeah.
here's like a
They'll put
good
him in and then
perspective.
change kick return rule. They'll change kickoff rules. They'll put him in and then change kickoff rules.
You're
Go
right.
ahead, Qwee.
Here's an awesome perspective. The 19 touchdowns on special teams that I was talking about before, the way it was written in the book that I found was non-offensive player. That means he scored more times than Deion
Right.
on special teams than defensive snaps. Which is like, what, 70 to
It's insane.
8, 9?
Right.
Eighth
You
in the
know,
game.
like maybe 10 total special teams plays for your team during a game. I don't know.
Right. No, insane. No, Devin Hester, Hall of Famer. Good. All right. My next
Fatty.
one kind of piggybacks off that. Rondé Barber.
Ooh.
No.
My first initial thought is no.
No, but I don't love my decision.
I know.
This hurts my soul too.
Qwee, you saying no?
He's on my list, by the way.
Right.
For all those other conversations for another episode, he's on my list.
So
I want an episode for Qwee's list.
Here's with Rondé, and Rondé was my guy growing up. Best cover 2 corner ever. Period. Revolutionized it. But Rondé has 14 non-offensive touchdowns.
Yes.
And he was never a primary kicker punt returner. He has 1 kick return for a touchdown. That's 4th all-time non-offensive touchdowns, and he's got 47 career interceptions. Yes, Moose.
Mr. Miller. What was Ty
Thanks for putting my last name out there, bud. It's all good. I've called you Chase a million times on this.
Yeah. What was Ty Law's career interception returns? Because that's who I would compare him to. Ty Law's in the Hall of Fame.
I think he's more, because it was non-offensive touchdowns was Devin Hester was 1. I think Dion was 2. And I can't think of who was 3. It might have been.
Tyler.
I'm looking it up right now, so you guys keep talking.
7 TDs, Ty Law. So Rondé, Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so it goes.
Dude, look at his tackles.
Devin
look at him in
Hester,
all-time tackles.
Right.
Rondé's got
Hester
a wild stat.
Devin Hester 1, Deion Sanders 2, Rod Woodson 3, and Rondé Barber 4. And like I said, Rondé was never a kick returner, punt returner. Like he did, but he wasn't.
You got to look up tackles. You got to look it up. It'll blow your mind.
We're going into, I think it's going to end up being our last round.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Dank.
All right. Another guy that I think left the game a little too early, but I think has a better shot apparently than Andrew Luck. Luke Kuechly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
Andrew Luck plays 7, Kuechly plays 8, and Kuechly gets the nod.
The difference is Luke Kuechly's the best linebacker I've ever seen play football,
Correct.
period.
When he was the best every
including
he played.
Ray Lewis, including Urlacher, including all of them.
Fair enough.
Luke Kuechly to me.
Yo, Rondé Barber is
linebacker I've ever seen
10th
play.
all time. Rondé Barber is 10th all time in tackles.
Wild. As a
Luke-
corner.
118 games, 1,092 tackles in 8 seasons, which is kind of nuts.
But
It's over
just watch it. It was ridiculous.
12 and a half sacks, 75 TFLs, 67 pass deflections, and 18 interceptions. 7 Pro Bowls, 2013 defensive MVP, 5 first-team All-Pros. I mean, he left early, no doubt, but I think that gives him an nod.
I think he's in
Hall of Fame.
Yep. All right, Moose, who do you got?
All right, my guy might be a fringe guy, but I think doesn't get the respect because of the crap fan base he played for. Donovan McNabb.
Ooh.
God says yes. I
Yeah.
feel like it's easier for
Not a
quarterbacks.
not a first
Not
ballot.
a first ballot.
No.
I think that's already passed
4 NFC championships, 1 Super Bowl
in
appearance.
a row.
Was a dude for that trash franchise, the Eagles. I'll give it to him.
I'm good with it. He's not first ballot. I think that's passed for him anyways. But I think eventually he's a guy that'll get in. Qwee, go
Right.
ahead.
All right. I'm going to finish this on fire. And Moose, get
I
ready,
hope it's one of the
buddy.
guys I have.
I am throwing you the easiest pass. All you got to do is just
Here we go.
lob it in, buddy. Eli Manning. And here's my thing with Eli. This is why he's a debatable topic. I'm going to say he's not in the Hall of Fame. But
He's gonna be.
He will. But let me tell you why he's not. He is 9th all-time in passing yards. He's got over 57,000 yards passing. He's 10th. He's 10th in touchdowns. He's got 366 touchdowns. Wild.
Stats
But
and moments.
here's my thing. He's 12th all-time in interceptions. Yes, he has 2 rings, but he played 15 years. If you average it out, 24 and 16 is his average over 15. Eli Manning is not a Hall of Famer.
He will be, but I think his career record is exactly 500. I think I heard that.
I didn't even look at it, but when I averaged out the 15 years,
I'll Google it.
24 and 16 over 15 tells me no. That Eli is not a Hall of Famer.
That opens up a can of worms, because I feel like you could say the same thing about like Big Ben.
Well, Ben just had the worst year imaginable.
I mean,
We gotta
it's super frustrating. Because
We got
I
to stir
think
the pot
any-
somehow, though.
It's super frustrating because I think any objective fan, the argument, at least in the NFC East, was always Romo or Manning. I would say any objective fan would take Tony Romo over Eli for the majority of these games. But Eli has these 2 runs where he had the moments.
Right.
And that's,
Yeah.
to me, it's stats and moments. And
Eli
that's
Manning,
what Romo's missing.
Eli Manning, 118 and 118. That's his record. Exactly.
Come on.
500. I mean, he will be just because the 2 Super Bowls.
Okay, is that the same conversation if he played for the Cardinals?
No,
It's a good
I'm
point.
not saying.
I think
I'm
who
not
you
saying
play
he
for
should-
does matter.
Right. It's
Of course.
He's
So when you
outside of
take-
all. He's like the opposite of Wes Welker. He's outside of our Hall of Fame, but he's going to be in the real one.
So when you take a team that finishes last in the league and gets first draft pick and takes you and you lead them to 3 playoff wins, I think you should probably fucking.
Troll.
How many can we rip real quick
You want to go
before we
let's
get
go
out of
rapid,
here?
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Go
I
through
got
the rest
my-
of your list.
Well, my Dez Bryant.
No.
Ugh.
Who else you
I'm
got?
gonna say no.
No.
That's
That the
my
rest of your
first
list?
initial
Nope.
thought.
Is that the rest of your
Fizzled
list?
out.
Keep
No,
going.
Steven
You gotta
Jackson.
go.
Steven Jackson.
No, but I saw him too. It's wild.
Anquan Bolden.
Yes,
I have Anquan Bolden on my list.
he's on my
That's a
list.
And Warwick Dunn.
Yes. Work done is a yes.
He should eventually. It's gonna take a long time.
It's a no for me,
Because
dog.
Qwee took Wes Welker from me, I'm going to go with Michael Vick and Julian Edelman.
I don't
I
think,
think
either
Vic-
of them will be. I think actually, man,
I don't know. I think no for both.
I'd like to see Vic in, but
I had Michael Vick on my original list, and then I took him off because I compared him to Cunningham's stats, and it really wasn't as close as I
comparable.
thought.
gotcha.
Sure.
It wasn't as
Sure.
great as I thought.
But I think Julian Edelman has a real discussion because without Julian Edelman, Tom Brady does not
Those
win
playoff
those
runs,
last 2
right.
Super Bowls with New England.
They
He
said,
does
they said
not
on part of
beat-
my take, you can't tell the story of football without talking about Julian Edelman.
You cannot give Tom Brady his win against Atlanta or Seattle without Julian Edelman as the centerpiece of that offense.
He's in all Hall
2
of
Super
Fame.
Bowl wins.
You gotta if you
MVPs
open that door,
in those games.
that opens up a whole other conversation about a bunch of other people, in my
Go ahead,
opinion.
Qwee. Who do you got left?
So I had Anquan Bolden, and we checked him off. Stafford.
Yes.
Sorry, Dank.
I mean, he's going
Yes.
to Detroit's Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That's a guarantee. But
Yes.
Now, yeah.
Beast mode.
Yes.
yes.
Surprising fact, he's only 29th all-time in rushing yards. Didn't think that there was a plenty
He's
of...
up there in touchdowns, though.
Yes, there was. I was just surprised by the yardage with that. And then my last one was Khalil Mack.
No.
I want to say yes.
I want to. I don't know his stats, but
So
No.
I'll give it real fast. He was all pro in 2 positions in 1 season, but he's averaging, he had 76.5 sacks in 8 years, right? So if you look at what he's averaging, there's guys like Charles Haley, he got in to the Hall of Fame. He had 113 years. But if you average it
damn,
out,
that's a long
someone like Ryan Kerrigan should outlast Khalil Mack in the long run. So anyway,
Fair. All right,
Whatever
my
you gotta
last
say.
ones. My last ones. Asante Samuel, 51 picks, 3-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2 Super Bowls.
Yes.
I think he'll eventually get in.
yeah, he'll get in.
This one that I put a no on, but you look at the stats, and again, it's kind of going to be an era conversation. But Carson Palmer, he's top
Ooh.
15 in passing and passing touchdowns.
I'm gonna say
3-time
no.
All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, led the league in touchdowns in 2005. But I would probably go no on that too.
Hey,
Katie,
can I get a hot shot right now, real quick?
go ahead.
Make it quick.
One guy that I think is criminally underrated, the cornerstone of Dallas's 90s team, Darren Woodson.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, he should be in. Shady McCoy,
I'm gonna say no.
22nd in rushing yards, 29th in rushing touchdowns, 2 Super Bowls, 2-time All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, led the league in rushing yards in 2013, led the league in touchdowns in 2011. Hines Ward. He's one I wish
Yeah, I
about.
thought about Hines.
Hines Ward's got to get in.
Yes.
2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl MVP, 3-time All-Pro, full-time Pro Bowler, 16th in receiving touchdowns, 27th in yards. All right, and this last one. Interesting. Julio Jones. If he was to retire right now.
100%.
Julio.
Bro, I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
not
he's-
because of
he's-
his talent level.
Right.
I'm gonna
And I
say
feel
no.
like everyone talks about the talent level. He's 17th in receiving yards. His touchdowns is garbage.
criminal.
Wildly low. Yes,
Like
I was looking at this.
84th. He has 61 career receiving touchdowns. Cam Newton has more rushing touchdowns than Julio Jones has receiving touchdowns.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Drew Pearson made the Hall of Fame with 50 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was back in the day.
Drew Pearson also looked like he was going to kill
They only
everyone
played.
in
They only
Dallas
played
if he
2
didn't
games
get
back
in.
then too. So that's 25. games.
All right, let's take a knee. Bring it up, take a knee. Thank you for listening. Thank you to our good friend Savino for the use of our theme song, Time is Money. You can find him on Instagram at Savino_music. Just released his new single, Lilac Soul, on all major platforms. Look up Savino, that's Savino. Thank you to Sarah Wyant for the creation of our logo. Thank you to our producer, Brian Miller. Follow us on social media at The Pick Route across all channels. It's on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at The Pick Route. You can email us game ideas at thepicroute@gmail.com. New episodes drop every Tuesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, until next week, it could be worse. It could be playing for us.
Give it back, get it back. Hey, time is money, don't be wasting my stacks. Spending all your time, won't never get it back. People pick and choose who they love. People pick and choose who they throw shade at. That's why I do what I want. Spending all your time, won't never get it back. Time is money, don't be wasting my cash. Give it back, give it back, get it back. Hey, time is money, don't be wasting my stacks. Spending all your time, won't never get it back. Spending all your time, won't never get it back. Wasting all your good years living in the past. We only got this one life, get it on track. Money on my mind, all I think about is cash. I tell her swallow deep, cause I like it like that. I got that magic break a backboard, dunk it like Shaq. Paul strapped up bombs like Iraq. Fuck your feelings, show me facts. If we ain't talking stacks, I don't got time for that. Pick and choose who they love. People pick and choose who they throw shade at. That's why I do what I want. Spending all your time, won't never get it back. People pick and choose who they throw shade at. That's why I do what I want.